it kind of came out of like the darkest place almost, as change usually does, right? I started this journey of personal development and growth right in the middle of the pandemic as I was in the throes of postpartum depression with my second child. I had just started a retail business, and there was a lot of challenges and obstacles that came all at the same time. My son was diagnosed with autism, and the list goes on and on. And so I really felt lost and in a place of like just chaos and misalignment. And I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know where to go next, but I knew where I wasn't comfortable. And so I started to dive into the work of personal development, and I found this whole world.
Hi there, Soulful Mama. Welcome to the Soul Care Mom podcast. I'm Catherine Wilde of soulcaremom.com. I'm a mom of 3 amazing kids, a soul care mom coach, and a yoga and meditation teacher. I've helped hundreds of women, and I'm here to help you feel calm and find your unshakable confidence as a mom. If you're ready to stop living in survival mode and you're ready to drop the mom guilt and overwhelm, this podcast is for you. Think of this as a lunch date with a girlfriend. Grab a cup of tea and get cozy. It's time to get honest and vulnerable and shift the traditional mindset around motherhood. Be sure to subscribe to be the first to know when new episodes are released. Get ready to grow and feel empowered as a mom. I'm here for you, Mama. Let's get started. Want to slay your goals but feel like you're stuck in a rut? In this episode of the Soul Care Mom podcast, I chat with Jill Wright, a mompreneur turned life coach, all about mindset and how to set goals for yourself as a mom so you can create the life you crave. You are not going to want to miss this episode. Hi, Jill. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Catherine.
Yeah, I'm really excited to chat with you all about goals to set for yourself, mastering mindset, and I can't wait to hear all of your tips and wisdom. When you first reached out to me, I was drawn to your name, Grow Like a Mother, because motherhood really just invites you to grow in so many ways, and often a lot of it unexpected ways too. So I'm excited to dive into all of the things. And since we're exploring, how to set goals for moms so that we can set ourselves up for success, can you tell us a bit about your goal setting, what your mindset work looks like around that for you? How did you come to do this work with moms?
Oh my gosh, yes. Thank you for that. For me, it kind of came out of like the darkest place almost, as change usually does, right? I started this journey of personal development and growth right in the middle of the pandemic as I was in the throes of postpartum depression with my second child. I had just started a retail business. I had decided to go into entrepreneurship for myself for, the first time. And there was a lot of challenges and obstacles that came all at the same time. My son was diagnosed with autism, and the list goes on and on. And so I really felt lost and in a place of like just chaos and misalignment. And I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know where to go next, but I knew where I wasn't comfortable. And so I started to dive into the work of personal development, and I found this whole world, and I found I had a knack for taking the strategies that these gurus and big name personal development coaches they had, and then I made them adaptable for like the working mom. So that's kind of where the business came from, and it kind of morphed into, I do a lot of work on goal setting. So TGIM is kind of my acronym. I do time ownership, mindset, intuitive work, and goal achievement. I didn't do those in order, but TGIM.
Nice. Oh, I love that. And yeah, I think there's so many people that can relate to. Thank you for sharing so honestly about like your journey there. postpartum depression. And I mean, in the middle of a pandemic, right? Like as parents, there was so much uncertainty, and that felt really hard in itself. Navigating all of that and running your own business, all of the things. Um, yeah, that's a lot. I love that you explored ways to do your own inner work, and you found things that worked for you, and then um taking the things that you learned and really applying them to your life, because it's really fun sometimes to like dive in and learn all these new things, but when the change happens is when we really like apply it, right? We find ways to help like integrate it into our lives. So I love that you help
Yeah.
moms to do that. Yeah.
It's
So
like a whole embodiment thing, right? Like you need to
absolutely.
actually live it to get the results. And
Yeah.
that's when the magic happens.
Yes, I agree. So can you tell us a little bit about why is it important for us to even set goals for ourselves, right? We got all this stuff going on. Why should we set goals?
Why should we bother? I
Yeah.
know, like, why add one more thing to our to-do list? It seems so counterintuitive when we're so busy and like our our lists are never ending. They're endless lists of things we have to do. But I often find that when I talk to moms, the biggest challenge is that they feel busy, but they're not making progress towards anything. Like they're just busy being busy, and there's not a lot of time for their dreams, their hobbies, anything for them to fill their own cup up. And so that's when they start to feel really like weighed down in their role of motherhood. They start to feel really lost within themselves. They forget what makes them happy. And so having a goal that's personal just for mom, it's not a family goal, it's not a kid goal, having something that you can sort of not cling to, but focus on that is just for you feels selfish, but it can feel selfish. That's where the mindset work comes in. But it is such a gift that you can give yourself because we often, and I speak broadly and generally here, but many of the moms in my community put ourselves last on our to-do list and on our priority list. And we don't do anything for ourselves. So having a small goal, it doesn't have to be like a big goal. If someone's listening and they're like, oh, I don't even know what kind of goal I would have, gosh, it can be a goal to like get outside more, or like if you love reading, like buy a new book and finish it. It doesn't have to be a big life-changing goal, but the intention behind taking time for yourself is really what's important.
Yes. Do you feel overwhelmed and anxious? Do you wish you could stop losing your temper with your kids and just have more fun as a mom? Do you crave finding more time to do the things you love without feeling guilty? I get it, Mama. I've been there. That's why I created the Vibrant Mom Life membership. Imagine what life would look like if you could finally get out of survival mode, consistently find time for yourself, and be the calm, present mom you've always wanted to be. This membership will help you step out of anxiety and overwhelm and help you find time for yourself without the guilt. Inside Vibrant Mom Life, you'll find monthly themes that will help you shift your mindset, get out of survival mode, and find time for the things you love, all while being the mom you want to be. Plus, you'll find guided meditations and yoga practices that will help you effortlessly infuse your days with self-care. And I know that some days are harder than others, so you'll even find a library of short and sweet guided affirmations so you can simply press play and reconnect with your inner calm in just minutes. Join Vibrant Mom Life today by going to soulcaremom.com/membership so you can stop running on empty and truly enjoy mom life. I can't wait to welcome you inside, Mama. Oh yes, that resonates. And yeah. So like you were saying, we put ourselves last, and our kids are such a big part of our journey as moms, right? Like we can feel like it's selfish. So if we're struggling with that inner work and that mom guilt, what can we do to move past that as we start to try to bring more of ourselves into our lives? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first thing that I always tell people is stop comparing yourself to anybody else,
Mm.
because the minute that you compare even to what you think you should be or where you wish you were in whatever area of your life, but especially if you're comparing to other people around you, that's when guilt and shame can come in, right? You kind of open the door and invite it in. And so if we can close that door, just keep it at bay so that we can focus on our own journey, that's really the starting point. And then from there, it's focusing on your intuition, listening to what feels right for you. Because if you're acting in alignment with what feels right for you, rather than listening to other people's opinions, guidelines, strategies, like really tuning in, then you know you're acting from a place of love and truth and alignment. And there's no need to feel guilty if you're coming from that place, right? So getting centered in your own self is so important because it lays a foundation for you to be able to live a guilt-free, I mean, as best as possible. We're always going to feel, we're humans, like we all feel guilt, right? Um, but really recognizing your values, what's important to you. There's so much information available online, specifically in parenting. And I know I got sucked into that when my babes were small. It's like you could spend all day reading books and reading articles and going online and seeing on Instagram the different ways that you can do everything, be it feeding, potty training, breastfeeding. Like there's 300 ideas on every topic, and none of them are right and none of them are wrong. But if you can tune in and just feel what's right for you, you don't need to feel guilty about not doing it someone else's way because you're doing it your way.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. And I think we can find so much inspiration from those things. And so what we want to try, what might work for us, but yeah, letting it overwhelm us and make us feel like we're doing it wrong, like it just definitely doesn't help. Yeah.
It
Um,
doesn't serve us at all. No.
right. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And so, some people think of goals like at the beginning of the year. Maybe you set a New Year's resolution or you have, your intention, your word of the year. Um, what do you recommend? So, things change over the year, things happen, life shifts, you might find a new interest. Like what do you recommend around bringing awareness to that and bringing intention to our goals throughout the year? Do you encourage monthly goal setting? What do you recommend?
I do a couple things. So, the first thing that comes to mind is how I do my weekly planning and my calendar, my scheduling. So it might feel like it's not super connected, but I like to look at my calendar a month at a time and then break it down by each week. And the reason that I start with that month is I can sort of give each month an overarching like theme or intention, and then within the 4 weeks of that month, I can make sure that I'm putting things on my calendar that align with that intention. So if my intention is to rest more, then I want to make sure that I'm creating big blocks of white space in that calendar, or that I'm scheduling in a massage for myself. Or if my intention is to refoster some friendships, because as moms, it's difficult, right, to maintain those grown up friendships. It's so many like play dates with the kids. Then I want to see in my calendar that month, like a coffee date with my coworker that I don't see anymore, or, my cousin who I've been meaning to get together with. So that monthly sort of intention helps me plan my schedule to stay on track with the goal.
Mhm.
Also, two other things. One thing is giving yourself permission to know that your priorities can change, and they should change as your life changes, right? Things get thrown at you, everything changes always. So don't feel like you need to cling on to a goal that you made 3, 4 months ago. If it's no longer relevant, you have full permission to change it, right? Um, and the final piece that I'll say on this, and this is just personally what I do, is I like to follow moon cycles as a reminder, right? So we're coming up to a full moon when we're recording. Maybe not when this podcast airs, but On a full moon, I take that opportunity to really think about what can I release from the past month, like what's not serving me, if it's a habit, a thought process, a person, physical stuff, like what can I release, right? And then full moons happen every 30 days. So every 30 days, I'm sort of like just clearing energies and clearing stuff. Um, and then on the opposite, approximately 2 weeks, we get a new moon. And in the new moon, I like to think of what can I bring into my life? What kind of intention can I set? And that really brings me back to my monthly goal. It's almost like a check-in halfway through the month. Is this still relevant? And am I on track? So I like to use the moon cycles personally as just like a little reminder.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah, they're those natural rhythms and cycles. We have them as women too, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
is to connect with nature as well, like really slow down and step out of our minds a little more and connect inward. I love that so much. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so you know, in this journey of motherhood, we're talking so much about connecting within, and I love it. And um, for the mom that's listening and she doesn't feel very connected to herself and she's looking for that clarity around what her goals might be or what she wants to infuse more of into her life, how can she find more clarity? What would you recommend for her?
First is to find some space where you can be quiet, like where you can quiet your mind. For me, often that's just the shower. Like you don't need to take extra time somehow and find extra time in your day because we don't have that. That's not realistic. But if it's your drive to work, turn off the radio, turn off the audiobook or the podcast and just sit in silence as you're commuting. You're already moving or in the shower, right? And use that time just to either let your mind free, depends, everyone's a little bit different on how it works best for them, but you can either just clear your mind and thoughts will come to you, or you can go in with the intention to think on like almost like a meditation, like, okay, what's going to be important for me? What can I set my sights on? Where can I focus my energy in the next week, month, year, whatever the timeline is? And the other really important piece that I like to tell people for goal setting is one thing at a time. You need to only have one thing at a time. Um, One way that when I do like goal setting workshops, I give people a circle divided into sort of 8 slices. So it kind of looks like a pizza. And I give them 8 areas of their life. So whether it be like career, health, parenting, um, romantic relationships, friendships, there's 8 different areas, financials, like whatever it may be, whatever's important to them. And I get them to sort of shade in visually that piece of the pie, how confidently or how strongly they feel that they're where they want to be in that area. And we look at that after, and they narrow down one of the lesser colored in segments, and they try to find a goal within that. And so if you're still unable to really narrow anything down from taking time to get quiet and meditating on what you might want, that's a good way to do it too. Because it gives you a bit of a guideline, like, oh, okay, I've self-identified that my health is really not where I want it to be. Let's look at health related goals, but only do one at a time.
I love that. Yeah, that brings so much clarity when we can break it down like that, when it's just like, yeah, just trying to figure out what I should do next. It feels overwhelming. But when you can look at the different areas and see where you
Mm-hmm.
want to improve, and then one at a time, that's that. Yeah, so helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm loving all of this and I'm feeling really inspired. Okay, so can we take a minute to talk about how to master your mindset? Because goal setting for ourselves is amazing. But if we're stewing in those limiting beliefs, those unhelpful ways of thinking and being, it can really keep us from taking those next steps, from stepping out of the comfort zone a little bit, from taking that time for ourselves. What tips do you have for us around mindset?
Oh God, where to start? Mindset's such an interesting thing, right? Because it's so personal. But so many people like myself benefit from having like a guide help them. Like I really love guided meditations or guided hypnosis tapes or like affirmation tracks, things like that.
Yeah.
I personally find affirmations to be really helpful in my day to day with my mindset, because we have to remember that like 95% of our brain is subconscious, and we're not thinking, like, so much is happening in our head that we're not actively thinking of. And that's what's running the show, is that 95%. And so how do we sneak into there and change it there? Right. Because if you're constantly just trying to focus on the here and now and changing your thoughts while you're aware of them, that's only 5% of the battle, right? You need to focus your energy where it's going to make the greatest impact. So things like tapping are really good. Things like affirmations, things like meditation and hypnosis and journaling. Journaling's such a good one, because you can sit down with a blank piece of paper and a pen and just brain dump, just write whatever comes to mind. You could start with a today I'm feeling, or I need to hear, and then just let your subconscious tell you, right?
Yeah.
Um, repeating affirmations can be a weird thing to start, because you're going to say things that don't feel true at the beginning, right? It's almost like you have to fake it till you make it. But the more that you say them, your subconscious is going to obey you, right? It's going to do what you're telling it is true. And it doesn't know the difference between um, past, present, future, lies, truth, like whatever it hears you repeating in your mind is going to become its reality. And so if you can repeat these things, even if they don't feel super true for you in the beginning, um, they will eventually become part of who you are. And then it will feel true through repetition. And then when you can get that feeling of like, oh, yes, this is the truth, that's when it accelerates. So it's a bit of a slow slog in the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, but then it's that feeling and emotion attached to a thought that's going to really transform. Um, I would say that's probably like the easiest place to start. And mindset work is great because it's always free. It's always accessible. Like if you've got a library card or an internet connection, you could go and find resources and tools that you don't have to pay for.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so powerful. Um, and I think just knowing that you can change your thoughts and that, you're kind of living out your story that you're telling yourself, right? So why not make it a different story when you can be intentional about that? And like you said, surrounding yourself, like affirmations and guided meditations, like that helps me so much. I have, messages all around my house that are reminding me, to tune in, to remember my worth, to all the things. I love that so much. So I also would love to just know, like, what do you do for your self-care? What are your personal favorite self-care practices?
That's fun. So um, I like to do what's called the workshop on my way to work. So every day as I'm driving in, after I've dropped my kids off, I turn off the radio and I go into what's called my workshop, and I literally speak out loud, because for me that is a way, rather than just letting it in my head, if I can speak it out loud, I can connect better. And the idea is based on Abraham Hicks and Esther Hicks and Jerry Hicks. And it's a manifestation type of practice, but I tweak it a bit and do almost like a gratitude practice at the same time. And so I'm speaking out loud, and I start by acknowledging that by focusing on what I want, I'm bringing more of that energy into my life. And I try to get into this energy of feeling really grateful. And then also, after I've sort of gotten into this high vibe, then I focus and I speak out loud the thing that I'm working towards. So that one goal that I'm working on, and I talk about how it's going to feel, what it's going to look like, and all of those things, right? So my workshop is something I do every day, which is wonderful. I also do affirmations every day, and they change sometimes, but I've got a few that I cycle through that are really helpful for me. And then in terms of self-care in general, to sort of take care of my body as well, I'm a religious napper. I nap every Saturday because I have my kids Saturdays, and they're still small. They're 3 and 5, and they don't nap anymore, but they know mom needs a nap because I need that break in the day. I've realized through a lot of personal reflection and work that I am the type of person who really needs to recharge alone. And if I don't get time with nobody around me and nobody speaking to me and I can just be by myself, then I really can't show up as my best self. And so I have no guilt taking this nap time. My kids know, and I show up fresh after the nap time.
Yeah.
So nap time is something that's really important in my house, and early to bed for mom time. Yeah.
Yeah. Like putting those boundaries around our sleep is so important. We say, oh, I'll just do one more thing, or oh, I'll say yes to this. And we're taking away from that time for us to recharge. And like you said, when we do that, we're actually able to give more of ourselves, for the things we do say yes to. So I love that you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's bath, like taking a bath by myself, but I also love to recharge. Like that time for myself is so important, as such an important part of my self-care. So I love
Totally.
that you shared that. Yeah, thank you. And so you have been on this incredible journey, all of this, leaning into your intuition, finding your calling here to help moms, like all of the things that you have been through. If you could go back in time to share anything with your younger self, what would you tell her?
Oh my gosh, it's funny that you bring that up because I was thinking about this the other day, and it would really be just to trust your gut. There are so many situations that I can think back where my body was telling me something, that feeling like you just know something, but you don't listen to it. And nothing dramatic, but there are situations that I'm sure that we can all recall, and we have them all the time. They're ongoing. They're not just past, they're present and their future, where we feel something and know something and still don't trust ourselves.
Yeah.
Humans are the only animal that will like sense danger or unrest or unease and still walk towards it. Like every other animal will run and protect themselves. I'm not going to do this thing. I'm not staying in this situation that makes me feel unsafe. Or humans do, we're just like, oh, we'll talk ourselves out of it. Our ego will come in. And so it's really trusting your gut, listening to yourself and knowing that you have the answer of what's going to be right for you.
Yeah, that is such a powerful message and reminder. Yeah, thank you. Um, Thank you for all of this. Thank you for sharing your journey and your wisdom. Can you let us know where we can learn more about you and connect with you online?
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. I love talking about all these things. So if you also love hearing about them, I'm online at Grow Like a Mother on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. And my website is livingwithheart.ca because I'm up here in Canada. And on there, you can find a whole bunch of free resources and different things that can help you get started if you're interested in goal setting or finding more time for yourself or just figuring out how to find yourself again.
I love that. Thank you. We will share those in the show notes so everyone can find you. Thank you again for being here. I loved this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a real gift.
Thanks for joining me, Mama. I'm over here smiling from ear to ear and giving you a big virtual hug. I love spending this time with you. You are amazing for showing up and carving out this space to nourish your soul. If you are loving the Soul Care Mom podcast, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And if you are ready to start your mornings feeling calm and energized, get the Kickstart Your Calm Morning Guide, a self-care morning ritual for moms, as a free gift when you join the Soul Care Mom community. Head over to soulcaremom.com/kickstart and enter your email address to get your free gift and start feeling like a calm mom today. Sending you so much love, Mama.